Hey, I tell you what, if you cast your minds back to the heady halcyon days of old, all the way back to December 2019, although it feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Well, in that winter, we saw seats that have always been red go blue for Boris. The seat I was born in, North West Durham, voted for an old Etonian in Boris Johnson, casting out to the electoral shadows both Jeremy Corbyn and Laura Pidcock. I cried tears of joy at the sight of the political revolution as it unfolded in real time, delivering on our democratic demand to deliver Brexit in the face of what has to be said was fierce establishment backlash. That's why I find the unedifying spectacle of the Conservative and Unionist Party fighting like rats in a sack to be not only self-indulgent but utterly reckless. They need to remember what conservatism is all about. They need to remember that they are there to conserve and protect. Conservatism should actually act as the vanguard against the radical Reds that have always sought to overthrow much of what makes Great Britain great. They risk taking the faith in them in 2019 and throwing it back in the electorate's face. But if you look at the howls of the former BBC staff like Emily Maitlis, like Andrew Marr, like Lewis Goodhall, since it was reported that Boris might well be running for the leadership, you strip away at the thin veneer of this so-called impartial broadcaster. It was the ultimate Boris bashing corporation. Paul Brand from ITV was warning of Johnson being gone by Christmas, according to his sources. The Qatari broadcaster Gary Neville declared that the Conservatives are a cancer. It's clear to me that Boris has these left-wing media darlings absolutely rattled. And I tell you what, it's been quite the enjoyable Twitter meltdown. And I'm not one for believing every poll other than the one on polling day. But even if the polls are only half right for the Tories, it'll spell disaster for the British right. Some voters have concluded that Sir Keir Starmer isn't all bad, that he's kicked out the Corbynistas and suddenly looks palatable. But we should be fearful of the Reds under the Labour bed. The Labour Party threw their toys out of the pram as part of the global financial market coup against Liz Truss's attempt to take back taxes to what they were under Tony Blair. Last time I checked, he was a Labour man. But despite this, they couldn't tell her what their alternative was, disputing only 2 of the announced tax changes that Liz Truss wanted to get through. And it isn't just the economy, right? There are Labour plans to repeal protections for minimum service on public transport, which risks emboldening trade union power and grinding Britain to a halt. There's a plan for 100% clean power by 2030, when we need every energy resource we can get our mitts on during this generation-defining energy crisis. Labour are going to seek to appease the green extreme that are blocking our roads via this asphyxiating noose around the neck of Britain's energy independence. And I say to those politicians who actually stand against Britain securing its energy independence via new nuclear and shale gas extraction, which Labour and the Lib Dems used to back, by the way, they should actually be precluded from receiving taxpayer support for energy bills, because they're responsible for the fact that we are not energy independent here in Britain. There are also plans to ban zero-hour contracts, contracts utilised by students and others that can actually benefit from the labour market being flexible. It would be a return for 1970s Labour chaos, with a peppering of identity politics brought in for modern good measure. Take what the Labour Party chair Annalise Dodds has said. She would ban trans conversion therapy, which may mean professionals can't do anything other than automatically affirm the demands from children to chop off their breasts or take potentially irreversible hormone blockers. We'd also see self-ID, the right for anyone without any medical intervention to declare their sex as whatever they damn well please, opening up potential avenues of abuse in single-sex spaces. The Tories and the wider public need to wake up and smell the coffee. They should realise that the Labour leopard doesn't change its big red spots. It might have more centrist and global market-friendly economics. Still, on the culture wars, they'd be the guardians of whackery and wokery, would have borders with more holes in them than Swiss cheese, would be left colder and poorer via their pursuit of net zero on steroids, and left shackled to the EU single market, using the threat of a recession as the reason why Labour reverses the Brexit that we fought so hard to secure.